Hello and welcome to Play Talk Repeat for this, our video game book club review of Sable. I'm Oliver and I'm joined by Alex, Niall, Lewis and the person who inflicted this game upon us, Scott. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about why you picked Sable?
We usually say hello.
I picked Sable because I thought the art was really nice. I also really like Journey, sort of like walking sim game. After I picked it, I sort of realized that everyone is going to absolutely hate this game, and I, in some ways, don't like it as much as I thought I would. But yeah.
We'll get into that into the opening statements, definitely. So, a bit of background on the game. So, Sable is currently a PC, Xbox exclusive. It was first released on September 23rd, 2021, and it is due to be released on PlayStation 5 sometime this year. So, it is opening statements time, and this month, we're going to start with Niall, I think. Niall, give us an opening statement of Sable.
All right, then. So what I'll say is Sable, for the most part, is inoffensive. Like, it's very much middle of the road, and I think that's one of its issues, is that it doesn't really stick out in any way, doesn't do anything particularly well. And I'll get into why I think that in a bit, and also the direct comparison to a different game, which some people might have also drawn themselves. And you can see just where it falls apart a bit when it comes to that. If we're doing ratings when it comes to opening statements, I gave it a 5 out of 10. So, like, literally middle of the road.
Middle of the road, beautiful. Lewis.
Yeah, my experience with the game, I assume, is going to be similar to everyone else's. I don't hate the game in any way. I think with what it's trying to do, it does kind of well. I think there's other games that do what it wants to do much better. And I assume that's probably one of the comparisons that Niall's going to bring up later in the video at some point. But yeah, I thought that the game all around was just relatively mediocre. I'm not a huge fan of these sort of like do-it-yourself explore games, and it's about the journey and it's about making you feel something about like getting a message across. I don't overly vibe with those sorts of games, and that's mainly just because when I play a game, I want to achieve something, and I feel like this game didn't really offer me anything to achieve, really. Again, it is very much about just wanting to learn more about the world, learn about the lore, all that sort of stuff. So the game for me, it didn't really like tick any boxes, but I would give it a 5 just mainly because as I said, I don't think it does anything particularly bad, but it didn't really do anything for me or give me anything to enjoy. But I can see the people who made it clearly had a vision. So yeah, I'd just give it a 5. I would never play it again. But like I said, I can't say the game's like a 2 or anything because it isn't a terrible game. It's just not my sort of game, really.
Okay, great. I'm going to leave Alex till last because I know what he's going to say. Scott, hit us with yours.
So as I was saying before, I really like Journey, and that's one of the reasons I picked this game. However, there's a massive difference between this and Journey, which is in Journey, there is a very obvious direction to go. There's a very obvious goal. And in this, there is definitely not. You are supposed to walk in a direction and then keep walking, and then find a quest, speak to some people. You actually have to listen to what they say most of the time, because otherwise you just won't know what you're doing. Which is a real issue for me when I've got like dyslexia and stuff. I really can't be bothered to read what they're saying most of the time, to be honest. There are quest markers, but they're not. They're sort of like more like go in that sort of general direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would give this game. Well, no, I need to say about the art as well. I think the art is extremely good. It's extremely unique. I really like the idea of the world being very desaturated a lot of the time. And then when it's like broad daylight, it's super vibrant, you know. I think the the sort of outline effect really emphasizes the desaturated feel.
That's what I thought when I first played the Simpsons game. I'm like, this game looks really, really good.
It does proper
It's like the
look
Simpsons game, but in a
Wasn't
desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
But
Score,
yeah,
Scott?
I will probably give this a 5 as well.
5, middle of the road. Did you? What was your score again, Lewis? Sorry.
5.
5. Okay,
5
Alex.
across the board.
Alex. Tell us about your experience with the game, Alex.
So I didn't even finish the game. The game was pretty much unplayable when I got to a certain point. It was so laggy because I played it on Xbox One X. I assume you three played it on PC.
Yes.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't made for an Xbox One X, so I don't know why they released it for an Xbox One X. I can't remember the town that I was in, but I would just walk around. It would just be laggy as fuck. I could not progress. I just didn't want to play the game. I was like, this isn't fun. It's not my type of game anyway. I don't like Journey. I don't like walking sims. Um, the game was just pure boredom. I literally fell asleep playing the game, but I was like really tired at the time. I don't know if that was a factor. I don't know. Yeah, I just didn't like it.
Is
What
that,
was the score,
is that didn't
Alex?
like it out of 10 or?
Didn't like it out of 10. Yeah. I don't know.
You're
It's
allowed.
probably on
You are
Sable.
allowed to give it a 1 if it doesn't run. That's completely fine.
I
What
don't know
about
if it's worse than
0?
Cars, but I beat the Cars, so it's probably worse than Cars.
Worse than
So
Cars.
1.
A 1 out of 10. All right, so I agree with a lot of what people have said here, but I also disagree with a lot. Like namely when Niall said that it was inoffensive. It is offensive. It is an offensive game. It is, number one, it is offensively boring. It's so dull, and it's just nothing. There's nothing about it. It's got absolutely nothing going for it at all. Like you say, it plays and it is a functional video game, but there's not one part of this game that makes me want to play it. If you know what I mean. I understand where Scott were coming from, where like comparing it to Journey with just the way it looks from the outset kind of thing. But Journey was a masterpiece, like an actual piece of art, and this is just shockingly boring. Not only that, there was like some pretty inexcusable like technical issues. Like I know Alex had some because he was playing on the Xbox One X, but I was playing on a fairly powerful PC and I was getting slowed down. I was getting frame drops and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It feels so unfinished. Like I know, like Lewis said, they had a vision, but I don't think they like could be asked executing that vision. Kind of thing. It just feels like it's just half done. So I played it. I got to the end. I'll give it a 3 out of 10 for that reason alone. But I just everything just didn't like. So Scott touched on the art a bit there. So my personal feelings on the art, I don't know what everyone else thought, were, I know you say it's like desaturated when it's dark, but I think it takes it to too much of an extreme where everything is the same color at certain points. Absolutely everything. The only way you can see where anything is because it's cell shaded and it's got the outline, but everything is the same color, and I really don't like that. What did anyone else think about the art?
Oh, proper dog shit. But what I will say though is that it had a really good, and I noticed this, a very good visual logic when it came to it, a very good visual language. Because one of the key parts of the game is like the climbing and traversal mechanics. So usually when some like a piece of wall was short enough to climb, it was a slightly different color than a wall which was tall, like too tall to climb. So I thought that was quite good. But yeah, overall, that was for me actually the worst part of the game, which is how it looked.
Yeah.
So that's me.
I mean, I don't overly have much to say about it. I didn't really like it, and I think Niall, I mean, he said this before we started playing it, that it looked like the Simpsons game. And throughout the entirety of me playing the game, it's all I could, like, see. I don't know if he, like, slightly ruined the game for me saying that, but it is incredible how much it actually looks like it. Like, if you go back and watch any video of the Simpsons game, it's just Sable. Like, it's just the beta version of Sable. I don't think anything about it was like particularly interesting. I mean, I think like the UI and stuff for the most part was quite nice. I don't think it. I think it was quite easy to follow, and whenever there was stuff to actually read and whatever, it was actually just quite nice and simple to actually get through. But visually, yeah, I don't know. It was very colourful, which was nice sometimes, I suppose. But as Oliver said, it did sometimes have an issue, I felt, where everything just sort of looked the same colour, just a slightly different gradient. And it made looking at stuff just kind of horrible, really, especially in certain places. But yeah, I don't know. I don't particularly like the art style because it is just the Simpsons game. And I don't want any game ever to look like the Simpsons game. Really, it's not an art style you should you should copy. I don't think. I think there's much better art styles to go for.
No, especially like games like Borderlands do like cell shading like so well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It in comparison it doesn't look good. Alex, you got anything to say?
Game looked like dog shit, especially
Okay.
on an Xbox One X.
Cool. I just love his bluntness. I love it.
I mean, you got to spend like 10 minutes looking at each individual frame. And just, like,
Exactly.
It's really
And I was
appreciated.
sick of looking at it.
Scott, you got anything to add? You said you liked it. Do you want to argue? Is there
Yeah, I mean, I do like it. I think that I'm not sure. I don't really mind the sort of like grayscale look. You know, I think it really emphasizes the colorfulness when it is colorful. You know, I think that if you don't have any sort of like depth perception or like issues processing like depth on like a grayscale image, then that could definitely harm your experience. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like a glass half full, glass half empty kind of sitch, where like the way they approached making stuff pop out and look vibrant is that they made everything else look really dull. Whilst, like, for example, other games, I mean, completely different art style or whatever, but when you're running through the fields of Ghost of Tsushima, you're not thinking, oh, these flowers look good because the grass looks really bad. It's like it all looks really good, but then you appreciate the flowers more still because the flowers are so vibrant and so like, but they pop out, and so there's like different ways to go about it. But yeah,
I think in a way that's similar because a lot of Ghost of Tsushima is like green and stuff like that, green and brown, and then you've got these like bright colors for the flowers and stuff like that. I think it's achieving the same thing, but Sable sticks you or shoves you into a time where nothing looks good. You know.
yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. I think this game really missed a trick because like there's kind of like a trend at the moment in video games of like cozy games. Have you seen this? Like, yeah, they're making. Yeah,
You're a bear and you run a bed and breakfast. It's amazing.
It's a good name as well. It's a good name for a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, like things like that, things like a short hike. Obviously, Stardew Valley's old, but like stuff like that, just cozy games where you can sit down, get under a blanket, and play. I think this missed a trick because it could have been a cozy game, like because it is quite relaxing. There's no combat to speak of or anything like that. You get on your little booster bike thing and you explore. Like it could have done that if it just made exploration a little bit more interesting. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do know what you mean. And actually, I'll go on to that point a bit more, actually, Oliver. I'm glad you bring it up. Because, like I foreshadowed at the beginning, for people listening, I would like to compare this game to another game which people might have played. It's a little game called Breath of the Wild. This game...
I knew this comparison was going to come up at some point.
This game, in every way, is exactly the same as Breath of the Wild, except the execution. Like, in this game, you... explore an open. You have the starting area which you're locked in, and then once it's open, you explore this vast open world where you can go anywhere. There's towers which are cartographers which you go to unlock the map. Got a notepad. I'm gonna bring it over here so I can actually look at the screen. There's quests which are essentially different shrines. Like there's different types of ones. Like there's puzzles. I looked up a guide and apparently you can like break someone out of prison at some point. Which I wish I did that quest because that sounded enjoyable. There was obviously the movement and climbing systems. I mean, like literally the bubble, the orb which you're around is just the glider, and the climbing system is exactly the same. But the difference is that the world itself isn't worth exploring.
Yeah.
Like at all. Like I remember,
Just
I
so
still have
empty.
this. Yeah, I have this incredibly vivid memory of climbing a mountain in Breath of the Wild, just because I wanted to see what was on the other side, which never happened in Sable. And once I got to the top, there was this giant fuck off sword. It looked like it was wielded by a giant just planted into the mountain. I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. But there was nothing like that with Sable. And the thing is, as well, like what I will say is, which is probably unique to everyone else, is that when I was about to finish the game, there was a moment where I questioned whether I wanted to, or whether I wanted to keep exploring. But that's because I, like with Breath of the Wild, I very much got into a rhythm. Like they got the gameplay loop down, the exploration loop down, in that, like what Scott said, well, it was like the opposite of what Scott said, where you kind of like you don't know what you do, just going off and exploring wherever. But I realized very quickly that there is actually almost like a set loop as I rinse and repeat. Like you go to a new area, you find essentially the tallest part of the area. That's where the cartographer is, and then that'll unlock the map, and then you go and explore like essentially the four corners of that area, and then there's places to get quests, and you go complete those quests for shrines. Like it got to the point where it's very like easy for me to be able to do that. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do that. But the motivator wasn't there of like actually wanted to explore the world. So I think that's where, like, genuinely, if there are even any interesting landmarks at all, it would go from like from a 5 to like a 6 or a 7 for sure.
Yeah, so see, I think there was interesting. There wasn't many of them, but there was interesting landmarks because it brings me back to the. I was telling you guys when I was playing it, like I was searching for a landmark for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it didn't show up on the map at all. There was no way to find out what it was, and there's so many hills in the game, you can't see what's off in the distance. And it was this thing I was looking for was a gigantic bridge. It was massive. When I actually got to it, I was like, oh shit, that's huge. But I couldn't see it. I could have been what 100 feet away from it. I wouldn't be able to see it because there was hills near it in every direction.
Yeah.
Wasn't good. Has anyone got anything nice to say about the game?
I mean, like I said, I don't think the game did anything particularly bad. Like, I feel.
Did you have any
like,
technical issues, Lewis?
There was like a couple of there was a couple of it would hitch every now and again. There was some like hitching issues.
I had UI issues. I don't know if any of you two guys. That's why I was very surprised that Alex had issues on console, because I thought the UI was very much made for console, just because of how buggy I found the UI on PC. Like constantly, my cursor would disappear. It wouldn't line up properly with the different buttons. It felt like I should have been controlling it with a controller.
Oh,
So
I didn't really notice. I can understand probably why though. Actually, that would make sense. But
yeah.
I was gonna say console-wise, from what I've searched up, I don't think it's even an Xbox. It's not an Xbox like One or an Xbox One X issue. I've heard it also runs like ass on the Series S and the Series X. I've heard it's had these FPS issues. I don't know why it's got these issues. It doesn't seem like a game. Like the game really, like graphically, isn't that intensive or anything. So I don't know why it's struggling so much. But on PC, yeah, there was like a couple of hitching things and whatever. But outside of that, it was relatively smooth. I didn't really notice myself ever being annoyed by like the game having any technical problems or anything. But I feel like if I was in the right mood, because this was the same with Journey. I've played Journey, and it took me like 4 times to actually play that game, and it was actually like forcing myself to play it. Just because everyone said it was such a good time, and every single time I attempted, I just couldn't get into it. But eventually, something about that game just clicked for me. I ended up having a really good time with it, despite not enjoying walking simulators. And I think this game, if I was in the right mood or if it was just the right time, I feel like potentially I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Because I can say like for a fact that when I was playing it, I wasn't particularly interested in learning more about anything really. I never really at any point was like, I enjoyed what just happened, or I enjoyed what I just read, or I enjoyed what I just saw. So I'm gonna go search out more of that. I just sort of wanted the game to be done after like an hour of playing it, which may have hindered my experience overall, which is why I don't want to overly blame the game and say that the game's boring or bad. I feel like for a lot of people, it will be like the right moment for them when they're playing the game and they'll get something out of it. I just feel for me personally, I just wasn't in the right headspace, I guess, when playing it. And I wasn't in like a mood to commit myself to the story. And I feel like that's where a lot of these games rely on, is the player actually wanting to commit to discovering all these things and actually commit to understanding the story and letting it actually like reach something in your brain, where it like connects and means something. Which is why I don't want to say like anything overly negative about the game. I do like admit that it's boring in some parts, but I don't think that's particularly the game's fault. Sometimes I think that can be the player.
Yeah, I think you touched on something there. I think like it's one of those games where it's almost like it's as fun as what you make it to be. Like, but the thing is, there has to be some trust in there as well. And I think for a lot of us, the trust wasn't there. In that if we committed time, then the game would reveal like
Yeah.
stuff about it and would reveal different things. I mean, like again, I was surprised about the prison break quest, which would have been really nice to stumble upon, but like the game didn't sort of communicate that to the player in like the first couple hours of play for us to be like, yeah, committed to wanting to progress more. I've got a question actually, but Oliver is leaning forward, waiting to speak. So what were you going to say?
Oh, this is
Oliver?
just the way I sit, my guy. This is just the way I sit.
Oh, well, right. Actually, okay. This will be interesting to see actually how people played because I'm pretty sure I know the answer for pretty much all of you guys. What were? I assume everyone only collected 2 masks, right? Or only got 2 masks. Did anybody get more than 2 masks?
I got 2.
I got 2.
What did you get, Scott?
I didn't complete the game.
Oh, okay. Well, there we are.
I got 2. I got 2.
Okay, which 2 were they? Okay, for me, it was the cartographer one and the machinist one.
Yeah, that's what it'll be for everyone, surely.
Yeah,
because it's the easiest to get.
That's the thing. Like those, they probably designed it so those were the easiest ones to get, or like those were like the easiest ones to come across to have the opportunity to get them. So that would have been their chance to convince people to spend more time playing the game because they were comfortable. Like it was the way it's designed. They were comfortable with people finishing the game when they wanted. So they should have put more effort in to try and get people to play the game for as long as possible. That's what I think, anyway.
Don't you get different endings dependent on the mask you go?
It'll all be the same. I don't think the cutscene's actually any different. I think because you just kind of put the mask on at the end. But we'll get we'll get into that in a sec. So I just want to touch on the story a little bit. Like, so the actual idea of the story is actually quite a nice one.
It's a coming of age one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a coming of age story. It's like this tribe, they go through a process of it's like a mask based society, and whatever like job you have or what you do, cartographer, machinist, soldier, anything like that, you have a specific mask, and it's about what's it called? It's called like the gliding. The ceremony is called the gliding. So you leave your tribe, you go out into the world, and you see basically what you want to be. And if you want to be a machinist, then you need to collect like 3 machinist tokens. And then you get the machinist mask. You take it back, finish the ceremony, be a machinist. I think it's actually quite a lovely concept. If it was executed better, I think it would have been a really great game. So what mask did everyone choose at the end is my question, because you collect as many masks as you want, but you only get to choose one. What did you become at the end?
Cartographer. They felt like they had a lovely life.
Cartographer.
Yeah, just like floating around in hot air balloons. That was pretty much it. It's a guaranteed money as well because people need maps.
People do be needing maps. It's not like they can just draw them themselves.
Yeah, considering how hilly everything is, you need maps.
No, I also did the cartographer, but it wasn't based off of anything. It was just I want the game to be over. So I'm just sort of progressing the story here.
Fair play. Fair play. Yeah. So I chose the mask that I started with. I'm surprised that no one else did, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Can you remember that? Yeah, I was surprised that was an option to be able to even do that.
Yeah, because the people in the tribe that are older than us, they must have gone off, done their gliding, and then chose to be part of the tribe. So, and I thought that's nice. They don't want to stay over. You know, I would like my characters to stay with a family, kind of thing.
It would have been. It would have been nice. Like that would have been better if like there was built-in multiple touch points with different characters, but it kind of does it on purpose where you are not supposed to engage with these characters after you leave. So you kind of just instantly forget about them. But I've got a question actually as well. What was your guys' like? If we were to say that like the quests were essentially like shrines, because that was pretty much what they were. What was your guys' favorite shrine of Sable or favorite quest if you had one?
I don't know. The one where you had to pick up shit was all right, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the actual bug feces.
I could not come up with any particular quest. I don't remember any of the quests.
I can't remember.
That's crazy.
I only remember it because I had poo in it.
I had there was you might not have come across it then, but there was a really, really interesting, very visual and very grand puzzle to do with the sunlight. So it was in this huge building. I can't remember what it was called, but there was this like sort of giant sundial in it, and you had to literally. I sat there for a good 10 minutes for the cycle to change. I had to set up the puzzle perfectly so that when the light shone in a specific way, it hit the right symbol, and then I had to get the orb from that symbol and put it into a slot. And the thing is, it doesn't tell you anything, and it's all very logical, and like you kind of just have to hope that you get it right. And I was very, very close to looking up a guide because it took a while for the game to sort of like confirm that I got the answer right. because it looked like, I'm like, if I don't get this answer right, then literally I'm just going to be moving stuff about all day, and I have to wait until the next day cycle to get it right.
Yeah.
I did do
Yeah.
that one. I did do that one. I used a guide.
Oh, you don't remember that? That was you used the guide.
Yeah, I used a guide.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was surprised that I got it right first time because it did feel like I was kind of just like fumbling in the dark. But I guess that's like a testament to how good the design of the puzzle was that I was
Yeah.
managed to be able to like intuitively get it. But yeah, like that again was another example of that was one of the reasons why I wanted to keep playing because that gave me like a hint, like a glimmer of what the game could be if I kept on committing time to it.
Yeah.
Because if like there was other puzzles like that, it'd be worth doing. But it was right at the end, and I was done with the game at that point. So yeah.
I'm with you. So Alex and Scott haven't completed it, so they've been quite quiet because there's not much they can say. Have either of you two got anything to say?
The game's bad.
The game's bad. Scott, anything more from you?
I think a lot of the puzzles weren't really puzzles. They were just sort of like, I don't know, climb up a hill and then click on a object and then you're done.
Or find something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Like literally,
Sorry.
the only two puzzles in the game were that sundial one, and there was also a what I would call like a climbing puzzle. For one of the cartographer ones, it was actually they were like inside this like really weird spinning sort of like structure
Yeah,
where you
I
had to
remember that.
climb and then like time your jumps to get to different points, and it wasn't difficult to figure out. I did fall off a couple of times, which were frustrating. But that was really interesting. But yeah,
Climbing the big skeleton was alright as well. That was cool.
big skeleton. I don't
Yeah,
really
that
remember
was another cartography. You had to climb up a big hill. You had to basically, it's like a massive dinosaur skeleton.
Oh
kind of
wow,
thing.
okay.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The only mission I remember is where you had to play hide and seek and find those 3 kids.
Didn't do that.
Didn't do it.
No.
No,
You
I
literally
did.
just go to. I can't remember it.
Isn't that, that's not, I thought, is that right at the start of the game, or am I misremembering?
I don't think so. It's
No.
well, it'll be. It won't be
No,
right at the start. it's
No,
towards
I'm
the
getting
end.
mixed up with the guy, the annoying little kid who hid the 3 things which you needed to build your
Oh
bike.
no, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting confused with.
No, it was literally just the quest where you go speak to someone, and then the kid's like, "We want to play hide and seek," and 3 kids just run off, and you've just got to go and find them. They're not hid in particularly hard places or anything, which is what I was gonna mention a minute ago. By like, nothing in the game was really a puzzle. Like, if it was a puzzle, it was incredibly simple and didn't really like make you think at all. And that's sort of what every quest sort of came down to, which was just go find this thing that isn't very hard to find, and then it's sort of over. But again, yeah, the game, I don't know, it wasn't really trying to do that. I think it was trying to be as chill as possible and try and not make the player really work for it. So
Maybe
Yeah.
you
And
were
even-
trying to find a fucking bridge for an hour and a half.
Even if you weren't trying to do that, like that's the massive downside to having no control over what the player does.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
say for example, like like you didn't come across the light puzzle, for example, which I did. But like that's the problem, like because you had literally no exposure to maybe the better parts of the game, and that was
Yeah.
just down to the way that you could just go wherever you wanted. So yeah.
Right, we were approaching the half an hour mark. Does anyone else have anything to say about Sable?
Really excited for 20 questions.
That's not quite about Sable, but
anything to say about Sable? Play the Simpsons game. Actually, no. If you want a game that looks like Sable but looks better, play Jet Set Radio. There you go.
I
They
thought
look
you were going to say the
exactly-
Simpsons game.
Play
man.
No, they look
Journey.
exactly the same, but Jet Set Radio looks
Don't
better.
play Journey.
Play
Journey's shit.
Journey.
Play Journey.
Alex, stop
Journey
being a
doesn't look-
fucking hipster for once in your life. Journey
What?
is amazing. Everyone loves Journey. Everyone loves Journey. Come on.
I don't like Journey. Journey's shit.
Everyone
Boring. Like The Last of Us.
Oh my god. Right.
For the 17th time.
20 questions. We're going to play 20 questions, so it's my turn to pick this month.
What?
It is, right.
No way.
So we're going to start the question. So the order we're going to do it in is Alex, Niles, Scott, and then Lewis. That's the order we're going to do it in, because that's the order in which I can see you in. Okay? So Alex, hit me with a question.
Okay. Is the game on GameCube, PS2, Xbox generation?
It is. Better get something up, actually, to give me the information.
Okay, so it's not Bioshock then.
No. Niall, your question.
I remember you saying, like, you said this was one that we would. Did you say this was you'll be like surprised if we don't get this? This isn't a question. This is just like just a bit of chit
It sounds like a yes or no question to
No,
me.
no, it's not. I just remember you saying it in chat. Okay,
I'm
fine.
not,
Don't answer.
I'm not confirming that either way. No.
Okay, so it's that generation. Is it? Was it on the GameCube?
It was on the GameCube, yes.
Okay.
Remember, he said it was a good Halloween game.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's the theme for this, isn't it? It's spooky.
Wait, is that what he said?
Well, it's spooky.
Yeah.
It's October.
Again,
I
not
mean, I guess
not confirming in either way.
Well, he did say
It
that.
has to be.
Fucking Halloween. Fucking.
I might have forgotten. To be fair, I might have forgotten. Who knows?
Wait,
Um,
is it me?
It is Scott's question.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it exclusively on the GameCube?
Yes, it was.
how did both of you do the exact same question as me without getting any
You
more
didn't do the
information?
exact same question. You said the generation, and my
Yeah,
question
which
was-
narrows it down. Get some more information out of him, man.
Well, I mean, no, GameCube.
Now we know it's on
exclusive,
GameCube. It's on GameCube.
It's a GameCube
Right, yeah.
exclusive.
which is very different. That narrows it down much more.
I was
Right.
gonna take a guess, but then Scott threw the spanner in the mix, said it was a Halloween game, so now I'm unsure.
Right.
Because I felt like I had it, or like literally after the first
Already?
guess. Yeah.
Okay,
It just,
interesting.
so far we know it was either on GameCube, PS2, or Xbox. We also
we
know
know
it was on the
GameCube.
GameCube, and now we know it's exclusive to GameCube. We're there. 3 questions in. Right, Lewis, your question.
I don't know if I should go with the idea that it's a Halloween game or not. I kind of just want to guess the game because I think I know it.
Go on then, do it. This will be fun.
Do it.
Do
It
it.
counts,
get
as,
it,
it
it's
counts
me a
as a
shot.
question.
If it's not Halloween and it's the game I was thinking of, is it Chibi Robo?
No, it's not Chibi Robo.
Right. Okay.
Lewis, you fool.
No, I
Alex.
thought that was
You
an
wasted
obvious
the
one.
guess.
No, because he's spoken
told
so
you not
much
to
about
do
how he
it.
wants to play it. So
Is it a horror game?
It is a horror game.
Right, there you go, guys.
okay, so
Was Resident Evil 4 first on the GameCube? That's not a question.
It's on
Wait.
everything, Niall.
But was it
It
first
is-
on the GameCube?
It's an exclusive on GameCube.
Oh, okay. Is it part of a franchise?
No.
Oh,
okay,
never mind.
I know what it is.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know what it is.
Oh, it's
Wait a
not
minute, this isn't a question, but does a horror game mean that it's actually like scary?
I
It's
think
just
it's like themed.
Just
Because
like
that's
theme.
well, yeah, because like scary is like subjective, isn't it? I suppose.
it's
Like, I
just,
don't
it's just
know.
if you it's just classed as a horror game, guys. It's not. It's
Yeah, but like Luigi's Mansion would be a horror game,
might be.
Yeah,
Guess it. Find out.
No, I don't think so.
but it's part. It's not.
It
It's
would
part of
be.
the franchise.
Luigi's
yeah,
Mansion
it's
would be a
not that.
horror game.
Yeah, but it's not part of a franchise. So it don't matter.
Oh
Anyway.
god, I literally don't know. Never used the GameCube in my life, so.
That's crazy.
I won't worry about the question
it-
too much. Lewis is definitely going to get it on his next go.
Yeah, I know. What it
Okay, is it a
I know what it
Resident
is.
Evil game then?
It is not a Resident Evil game. Lewis, take us home.
is. The game is Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness.
It is indeed Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem.
What the
Never
fuck
heard
is
of it.
Eternal Darkness?
First released on
classic.
June 24th, 2002. It is a GameCube exclusive horror game.
It's a game known for messing with the player.
Yes. I've wanted to play it for a long,
Psychological
long,
horror.
long time.
That was gonna be my my question, but I just thought I'd think
Well,
it. I was
when-
I was
when
gonna
Scott
say is
threw
it
the-
psychological horror?
When Scott threw the Halloween thing in, I knew then. I was like, well, it's definitely Eternal Darkness. But then I was like, what if you forgot? And he did just choose Chibi Robo instead. So, yeah. I've heard it's a very good game. I actually own this game as well. I bought it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think I've got it somewhere as
remember.
well. Somewhere.
I also have it.
Have I?
This game's wacky looking at the screenshots.
Oh, I've got it. It's right there. I see it. Banging. So yeah, Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. Let me just find out when that video is actually coming out, because man has not got his schedule open.
That'd be
I've got it.
sometime.
It's coming out on the 28th of October.
Yeah, but the 28th. yeah.
It is as well. So the all of next month is going to be at least loosely Halloween themed, I guess. Well, I say all. I mean 2 of our 4 videos will be loosely Halloween themed.
Zelda 1 is quite scary.
It is pretty scary. So on the 7th of October, we've got a new thing. We're doing the Guess the Dot Game screenshot quiz. We've decided to table spare change for now. That we then got our discussion episode on fear in video games. Then we got that's on the 14th. On the 22nd of October, we've got Hyrulean Chronicles episode for Zelda 1, and then on the 28th, as we said, is the video game book club for Eternal Darkness. That's it. That's good recording guide. That 20 questions went by real fast. That took 5 minutes. Usually takes half an hour.
Well, it's quite easy when you definitely know what the game
I knew you'd get it.
Is that the first one we've actually guessed properly?
No.
No,
we'll-
someone got Crisis as part of like
Crisis.
the final guess. I know
Oh.
I think Brutal was Brutal Legend.
I think I got Brutal.
I think
Yeah,
Lewis
Brutal
got Brutal
Legend,
Legend.
yeah.
Okay.
Everyone guesses fine because I'm good. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's it. So we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.